My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about The Last Door Season 1, which is a point-and-click adventure game developed and published by The Game Kitchen for PC and consoles in 2013.
Yeah, this episode executive produced by Brett. Thank you, Brett.
Mm-hmm.
We're just covering Season 1 of The Last Door. We're going to cover Season 2 another episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth noting, I just want to get out here. We're not doing split EPs anymore. We talked about this a bunch and everything. I feel like it robs from our future selves. And when Brett, this kind of is one story. I understand why Brett, when Brett reached out, he's like, yeah, if you do both seasons, we will. Mm-hmm. We're just going to split them up. It's nice to revisit in kind of different places in our lives and stuff. And have a little breather between.
Yeah. So talking about Season 1 here. This takes place in Great Britain in the early 20th century. You play as a man named Jeremiah DeWitt. Do you go Devitt or Divot?
I was saying DeWitt because every time I read it, it looks like DeWitt.
It does look like DeWitt.
Which is a name.
Yes.
And Devitt is not.
Right. Okay. So Jeremiah DeWitt, who is investigating these strange happenings related to this science and philosophy club that he was in when he was in this boarding school years ago, that he doesn't remember much about.
Yeah. This is at its core, this is a very basic point and click adventure game. One of the more basic ones we've covered. I feel like you can go slightly more basic than this because there's an inventory in this at least.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically what you do is you search the environment for items, you find ways to solve puzzles. Sometimes you combine items. Most of the time you just have to find the right item.
Yeah.
And you speak to people to advance the plot and explore. And that's almost all of it mechanically.
Yeah.
We don't have a whole lot to talk about generalities here because it is a simple game.
Yes. Might be the shortest generalities we've done in episodes where we've had them. We can talk about the quality of the puzzles here. Going back and playing this, so I had streamed The Last Door Season 1 several years ago. Enjoyed it just fine. Going back to it, I don't think these puzzles are very good, Gary.
To me, they vary.
Yeah.
Like there are ones that are just fine. Like they're just tasks to get you moving around. There are some of them that are actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think going back to this, I had a reaction as well because this is something I'd played before. I think that me and Nick covered it for Check It Out Comrade the first time. I like this more the second time I played it. And I don't mind that the puzzles aren't very good because there aren't very many of them. And I'm not really thinking about the puzzles in this.
Mm-hmm.
This starts getting into aesthetics and stuff, which we'll get into. But this is a really interesting game to do right after Stasis Bone Totem, I think.
Yes.
Because I don't have a fully developed theory on it, and I wanted to hear your take about this general idea as somebody who plays more horror games than I do. The lack of emphasis on puzzles in this did a lot to immerse me further in this. One of the things that happened during Bone Totem, a game I liked, is that I was grooving with the atmosphere and the story and everything, but I just kept getting annoyed by being pulled out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That happens a lot less in this. And part of it is the episodic structure of it. Like I played one chapter a night. And then part of it is just the scarcity and simplicity of a lot of these puzzles. I wonder how you get puzzles specifically, not just gameplay. Like I love how gameplay can enhance horror, but puzzles specifically shunt me into a different kind of thinking. And kind of shuts down my scared brain. I can't experience dread while doing a Towers of Hanoi or while, rotating an object in my mind.
Right. The problem is the actions and the thoughts involved in solving a puzzle. Those aren't scary.
Not at all.
They're actually kind of quotidian. Just like, oh, I've got to jerry rig something up, right? Like,
yes.
Oh, this
Taskmaster.
This is a hack. Yeah. It's Odyssey of the Mind shit. And so that I think is something that does take the wind out of the sails. A puzzle can be scary, right? Like if it is,
that Jigsaw guy is a real problem.
Yeah. Oh, he's a real scamp. The Jigsaw fella. It can be something that is integrated into the world and can be gross. Like there can be some, pressures and tensions on it, but by and large, you end up with, something that, I don't know, like makes you see the wireframe and interrupts the pacing in such a way that is deleterious to horror, something that is very dependent on pacing.
It's interesting the way that puzzles are the secondary dominant gameplay function of horror games.
Yes.
Baked in from the start, especially survival horror. And like, what's interesting when I was thinking about how I don't really mind the puzzles in say like Resident Evil, but got a little bit frustrated with them in Bone Totem, and this one didn't mind them at all, is that it is, as you mentioned, a pacing thing. In Resident Evil, I might take some time out and put these photos in the order of baby to old man, like they like to do. I'm not thinking about scariness during that. And then I have a stretch of doing scariness. This game feels like it does that in super concentrated doses.
Yeah.
Like I was not solving puzzles with the frequency that was pulling me out quite as much. So the atmosphere and the kind of vibes of this worked for me. I appreciated them even more the second time around.
Yeah.
Thinking about it more.
Yeah, it's the pressing the buttons of the portraits in order. Like it's that is a very interesting one to bring up. That is like that to me. It is the stuff around it that makes that scary. The fact that it's in that gallery with those crows, and you're not sure if they're monster crows at that point, and failure means they're going to attack. There's something about that gallery and that whole setup that actually does bring extra tension to it. I was
just trying to pull a random Resident Evil style puzzle, replace that with liquids.
I'm not saying that's the example that like undoes your point entirely, but I think it also says something that both this and Stasis Bone Totem are games that do not have any danger for the character.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
They're kind of scripted, very well telegraphed deaths in Stasis. And this, no deaths to be had at all. Whereas Resident Evil mixes that stuff in with mechanical danger, health bar monsters coming after you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way to kind of do it, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's not like I feel like the puzzles in this game, I'm hooting and hollering over them. I'm certainly not. There are several of them I find kind of actually embarrassing. Bad logic puzzles. It just didn't bug me as much.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, this is like a lot of times the solution was obvious and it was just an opportunity for me to wander around and listen to the music a little bit more to get to the next little plot reveal. It kind of functioned as puzzles as pacing as opposed to puzzles as horror additive or puzzles as like primary gameplay mode.
Yeah. This is puzzle as a reason for you to really mouse around and look for stuff. Oftentimes seeing descriptions about the environment, notes related to the story, stuff like that. And while you're seeing that stuff while you are looking for the doodad, the coupon that you need to progress further. Like that is the level at which puzzles are operating here, which is why it sticks out to me when you end up getting some real, you
have to coat a light bulb with blood to turn it into a photo light bulb.
Yeah. Just some real like cat hair, mustache, honey stuff. Yeah.
The game was released episodically. Each episode takes place in its own self-contained area, and there's not really long puzzle chains in this. The puzzles are confined to 1 or 2 screens. Any area is maybe like 8 screens. So we have limited kind of real estate here. This changed a little bit in season 2, where chapters cover a larger geography.
Right. This game primarily relies on its aesthetics and story. This is a very distinct game when you look at it. This is entirely done in a chunky, low-resolution pixel art, which you would think would take away from the horror. That's a subjective thing, right?
Yeah.
But the game company, or the game kitchen, does really well in this format.
It's the aesthetics of this make it in so many ways. Like this reminds me of when people, and I'm people, you can wax about low fidelity graphics, leaving time to the, leaving space to the imagination.
Yeah.
There's so many things in this that you can't tell exactly what it is. And because you are spooked, you imagine something scarier than what's actually there.
Yeah.
It's a pile of clothing, or it's a curtain, tangled up in some curtain rods, but it looks like a beast.
Yep.
When you first come in, it's if you haven't played it, it's kind of hard to describe. Atari is a good watchword. I always thought it was trying to do Kingsfield, but the characters aren't quite as gaunt.
Yeah.
As they are in not Kingsfield, sorry, King's Quest.
Yeah.
But it's definitely drawing from that, and then they contrast this with actual like lighting effects. And shaders, and then music that is high fidelity.
Yes.
And is beautiful and perfect. Game Kitchen miss on music even once, challenge level impossible.
Right.
In terms of, I like their games a lot. Wasn't a super big fan of Blasphemous 2, but their soundtracks are really hard to fuck with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that everything here is kind of this very small string ensemble is great. That is, one of the spookiest groups of instruments you can get. Their composer, he was named Carlos Viola, which is hilarious.
Come on.
Hi, I'm Johnny Piano.
Yeah, I'm John Podcast. Yeah.
But has been with the Game Kitchen and also did the Blasphemous soundtrack, which is working with a different sound palette, right? That's more liturgical than this one is.
But it's also with all the Spanish guitars and stuff.
Yes.
It's still incredible.
Yeah.
Like the man is a talent.
Yeah.
And the story for this is slightly more interesting than initially sets on. It looks like it's just going to be, very basic Lovecraftian kind of story. But there are a lot of details, a lot of directions it goes into that are more interesting than a lot of these treatments of these tropes. A lot of unanswered questions to this. There's ambiguity to this that I really love. There's a lot of control over what the main character knows and then what actually gets passed on to the player.
Yeah.
It's in a general sense, this is incredibly deft, I think, in terms of conservation of information.
Yeah.
Another thing that I felt very strongly in the contrast with Bone Totem, again, a game I cannot stress enough I liked, is that in this game, you go through a room, you highlight over things, you get a little description. There's so many fewer of them, and the game feels like it is doing a real less is more in terms of words, in part because the words are all in the Atari font. You can't do a thick string of text. Like there's no logs that have, 7 pages of documents here. It's to the point and also intentional.
Yeah.
What you get. Like there's a couple little bits of translation error, some like awkward writing bits that are actually errors, but the writing itself in terms of choice of what to put on the page, I think is really, really good.
Yeah. They're working with good ideas and kind of good discernment about what needs to go in and what should stay out. Yeah. Restraint is probably the right way to do it. Yeah. So the Game Kitchen, this is a small Spanish studio that was founded to create this game. They are an early Kickstarter success story. They successfully funded this in 2012 and started coming out in 2013. Yeah.
The inspirations for this are very apparent. Obviously there's Lovecraft stuff, weird fiction stuff. We can find a little bit of it. There's an interview in the Lovecraft e-zine, which I've been published in. Where one of the creators of this, big Lovecraft fan, the other fan not. So other influences kind of come in.
Right.
Specifically kind of Edgar Allan Poe, a lot of Sighting of the Great God Pan by Arthur Machen, and then Louis by Guy de Maupassant.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Maupassant. By Guy
Maupassant.
de Maupassant. Yeah.
Maupassant.
Yeah.
Guy de Maupassant.
Yes. Yeah. And I've never read The Great God Pan or read Louis. I guess it was translated as The Terror. I've never read those. I kind of want to go check those out now.
Curious.
If they were pulled from this. Weirdly, something that is not a source for this is anything related to Robert Chambers. You could swear that there's some Yellow King stuff going on in here.
And the yellow is just poisoned for me and scary stuff, though.
Yeah, but there's like the theater stuff.
Yeah,
masks,
100% the mask. Like there's more than that. But if I see a yellow robe, I'm like, well,
oh yeah,
I know what you're doing. The Great God Pan is a little bit of a tough read.
Yeah,
it's as you 1800s literature often is.
Mm-hmm.
But there's cool things in there.
Yeah. So season 1 was successful. They decided to continue with season 2, but had to end the series in 2016 just because revenue started to dwindle. That was around the time when episodic games started falling out of favor as well.
We all had a mania.
Yeah.
For it. Oh, I don't want to skip over this from that same interview. One of the things that is interesting about this company, and they've continued this into Blasphemous, as my understanding, is that they involve the community in a lot of ways.
Yes. Yeah.
So the community is not only playtesting, they're also suggesting improvements and like editing lines, down to adding writing or saying, it would be cool if this said this.
Mm-hmm.
They involve people. And my understanding, again, is that they continue this. This is a studio value.
Yeah.
But yeah, after this kind of episodic games, the bottom fell out. Around that time, they started working on Blasphemous, which you probably know better than this.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered both Blasphemy, between Watch Out for Fireballs and Bonfireside Chat.
Mm-hmm.
Cool games.
Yep.
Like the first one more than the second one, but they are cool.
Yeah. And The Last Door, sold well, like we said. Metacritic of about 79, which feels about right to me. For this scale of project. And though, this story is brought to a close, nominally, in the interviews, they say, yeah, we're not ruling out going back to it. We have to do stuff that makes sense for us as a business.
Yeah. Yep. Can't begrudge them their paycheck, for sure.
Nope.
So let's get into it with chapter 1, or episode 1 rather, The Letter.
Yes. Each of these episodes has a little prologue that you play. Sometimes it's a media res. Sometimes it's, just like a flash forward of things that are going to happen. And this one, you're playing as a man named Anthony Beechworth as he's getting ready to hang himself. And we get narration of a letter that he has written talking about how he has seen too much and can't go on.
One of the things that this introduces is that at this level of fidelity and resolution, in these scenes, you're not necessarily like clicking on with intent. They don't say like, kill yourself. Yeah. And then, like find noose combined with fish. Like you don't have a goal. You're gently wafting the mouse over the screen, finding the things you can click on and sometimes being surprised at what you do with them.
Yes.
This would feel very different if your character said it's time to kill myself, and then you had to do a puzzle to figure out how to do it. Yeah. I mean, Hitman.
Oh, geez.
I would play that game.
Dark,
pretty dark, but like doing Hitman shit. I don't know. There's something there. But the like you ludum dare me. But the when I talk about the game being very canny about what the character knows and what the player knows, there is always a sense of irony or dramatic irony rather,
Mm-hmm.
in this. Like the first time I played this, I did not know I was killing myself.
Yeah.
You click on a little squiggle, which we can't really tell what it is. It's just the only thing I can click on. And my character puts up a noose.
Yeah.
That kind of surprise where my character knows what they're doing, but the player does not know what they're doing is really effective for like distancing you and making you feel spooky.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, that's what's happening.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
And the game does that pretty consistently.
Mm-hmm.
It's real good.
Yeah.
And then you get the title screen, which looks great, and then really good credits with this crow motif, these pixel art crows around a city.
Yeah. So the title establishes that it's October in 1891. When I was making the notes, I said it was early 20th century. Yeah, that's wrong. I said that incorrectly.
It's okay.
Our character, Jeremiah DeWitt, gets this letter from an old friend, the one that we saw in the prologue. And all that the letter said is this Latin phrase, videte ne qui sciat, which is no one can know. It was the motto of their science and philosophy group back at this boarding school that they all went to in Scotland.
Yeah. So he, like any good Call of Cthulhu tabletop game protagonist, he rushes to the Beechworth estate to investigate. And the place is entirely silent. The entry has a note from the servants saying they can't bear to be in the house anymore.
Right.
But you let yourself in, of course. A journal that we can find in their quarters talks about how he ordered them to get rid of any religious objects, and he complained about a stray cat, Alfie, that his wife was feeding.
Yes.
Poor
or
Alfie.
that the wife, there was a husband and wife servants the wife was feeding. And it's like,
Yes.
what's the big deal about a cat? They had to hide their rosary. Like there's a crooked painting that you can try and adjust, and then it falls off, and you see where they hid the rosary.
Yeah.
The back door out of the kitchen takes you to the yard where you see something pretty horrible. A bunch of crows swarming, like eating something. You can see blood and flecks coming off of it.
Yeah, but we don't get to know what's there yet,
right?
And really never see what that is. There's a crowbar from the basement that gets me through this doorway that's boarded up, and we can get into this upper hallway in the house. And this leads to a room with a dead woman's body on the bed, with "Leave me alone" written on the wall in blood. She'd have to get out a step stool.
Yeah.
Some of the wall blood writing in this, not realistic. In her condition, she wasn't climbing ladders.
Probably not. Get a little bit lightheaded. Yeah. There are notes scattered around. So this is Anthony's wife, Anna, is who she is, talking about Anthony is not the same anymore. He's turned into this creature devoid of human warmth and sanity. She cannot go on.
And he basically let her rot away.
Yeah.
Like the servants left, like she is implied to have just died in bed. From neglect. Like she, there's a wheelchair here, but there's notes and things that suggest that it's been a while since she's been ambulatory at all, like that she could use it. We take a hairpin from her body. This lets us open up the door to a workshop. This introduces something I wanted to mention last episode as well, and I'm sure is going to come up in Toonstruck. In adventure games, graphical adventure games, the metal object problem, where I could do something with any stick-like object. Butter knife, stick, hairpin, anything like that. But the game wants a specific one. In Bone Totem, it's where you use a screwdriver to bridge two electrical things. And I have another metal object in my inventory that won't do it. Here, you have like a key, or you can, depending on what order you've done things, you can still have a key. There's something else you get here as well that would do this, but you have to have the hairpin to unlock this.
This general problem. It's not simulation-y at all. The workshop has this stuffed lynx on displayed, and there's a paranoid note where Anthony's writing about how he knows that the cat that the servant was feeding is mocking him, and that it knows his secret, saying, "Gabby, Gabby, lynx, you'll never reveal my secret." This is an incredibly poor hint of what you need to do.
There's a little bit like kind of a side hint to this. So there's a stuffed cat in the workshop here that you think it's dead. If you examine that, you can see that it specifically calls out that its mouth is sewn shut there, which I took as more of the hint.
Yeah.
To that, like, oh, I'm gonna have to get in that mouth.
But it's also we have a lynx, and he is talking about
A cat.
the house cat.
Yeah.
The implication here is that he killed the house cat and stuffed it and put it in here. We're going to have to, like, the house cat's still alive. It's a different cat that you have to solve the puzzle for.
Choosing to make it a lynx is a bad.
Yes.
Is like namespace pollution.
Yeah.
This should have been a deer. If a mouth is sewn shut, I'm getting in there.
Oh,
you don't have to make it a cat.
No, if there's a door locked in the hallway, I need to get in there because what did you care to hide so much?
Yeah. Well, and specifically a mouth. Those shrunken head things from Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Like, tell me you don't want to know what's inside that mouth.
True.
My dick.
Jesus. Settle down.
Sorry. I'm trying to pad out the episode a little bit because it's going to be short. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Somebody is...
That's somebody's everything is somebody's special thing.
No, I know. I just the shrunken heads though.
Yeah.
Anywho, the room beyond this, beyond the bedroom, is this gallery of family portraits. There's paint thinner that we can get from the workshop. They'll just clean off some fresh paint that we find from a painting of Anthony and the cat, and it reveals the cat snarling under the paint.
Yeah. Another hint: got to get inside that mouth.
Yes.
Sorry.
Need mouth.
Need mouth.
Yeah. Got a good. That cat.
At some point, you find a record, and there is a phonograph in the parlor there, and you play it, and it's this warbly and kind of manic classical music, and you can't make it stop. Like, you can't turn it off. You have to leave the room, and it will abruptly stop. And when you return, you get kind of the first big scare here. The room is lit in red and just full of crows who have come in through the window.
Yep. It is totally crow-pilled. When the music stops, it sounds like somebody is taking the record off.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I like about the jump scares in this is that there's basically only one per chapter. Mm-hmm. And once they happen, you can still walk around. The crows just look at you.
Yeah.
Like you don't, nothing happens here. You don't have to fight them. They don't all scatter. The screen doesn't blink and then it was all an illusion. You just can just walk around. When you leave and come back, the crows will leave. Yeah. But while you're there, you get to exist in the room of crows.
Yes. They're not going to attack me. I'm not Tippy Hedren. Come on.
No, they're full.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were eating their buddy. Yeah. So these are the crows from outside. And you can go out there and see that there's one dying crow that is implied they were attacking. Yes. You do not have to do this, but you can take a hammer from the workshop and kill it. Or you can use it and have a cat eat it alive. Like, it's up to you. Yeah.
Yeah, you choose the crow's fate. Mm-hmm. Peter Molyneux. If there's a crow and you hit it with a hammer, you'll remember. Yeah. There's a servant's note. It talks about how the cat always comes when she opens the window because he knows there'll be food there. So you put the crow in the cat's bowl and open the window.
Yeah.
You also, in order to do this, you have to grab the rosary bead from behind the painting to fix a window sash.
Yeah.
To make the window work and hold it up.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I didn't notice that you were fixing the sash. Yeah. I was just, okay, I've got to put that up there for some reason. It's
home ownership for me.
Now they got those windows. You know what sashes are. I've got vinyl windows, baby. Yeah. So you leave the room again and you hear some yowling, and when you return, the crow is gone, and there's a trail of blood that leads to a hole in the wall. And now we have to follow sound. It's another sound puzzle. You have to trace the yowling down into the basement to this kind of false wall that you have to break through.
Yes. So we break it. We find the cat. The cat has no eyes, as has been blinded. As mentioned before. It runs away, of course, and we find at the end where there's a secret compartment here that has a chest and these ritual implements. So a cloak, a mask, and a knife.
Yeah.
At first, it looks like the guy Amontillado the cat.
Yes.
When you first get in here, which I like the idea of.
That's horrible.
A rare fancy feast. No, like just the idea of tricking.
Oh yeah.
Like we got some pounces. It's a good vintage for Friskies.
Yeah. Oh man. I have the rarest churu in the world.
Yeah, party mix.
Oh gosh. But the dagger here is what you want to cut open the mouth of the stuffed lynx and get into the attic. There's a key in there, and this is the attic from the prologue. The attic is lit in green. The fact that somebody hung themselves up here, like this feels like a very direct call out to Alone in the Dark to me. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But Anthony's body is still hanging here. This is the attic from the prologue.
Yes. And a letter in his
pockets, of course.
Yeah, you got to figure this out. He's got this. He's got a letter there talking about how he can't account for what has happened to his state of mind. Saying that you just whoever finds this, DeVitt, you must have come. You need to return to the boarding school where we made that pact, where we all swore on our honor that that sentence that would protect us.
Yep. The lives of the entire group are in danger. So we have our little quest here to check in on our crew. And as we're kind of considering this, crows burst through the window and start feeding on his body.
Yeah.
Covering him, head to toe like piranhas.
Yes.
In a way crows don't do.
No.
These are highly motivated crows.
Organized too.
Yeah. That's smart. And this brings us into chapter 2, memories. There should be a moratorium on calling chapters things like memories.
Yeah. So you have a prologue here where you're playing as a priest. You're kind of in his room, and the walls are completely covered with crosses. I think he at one point said, "Hey, I like some crosses," and then every family member was like, "Well, I'll just get you crosses for Christmas."
Yeah, he likes crosses.
Christmas. Yeah, he's a cross guy. Gotta hang him up.
Pretty good guess for a priest.
True.
If I were getting a gift for a friend who I knew was a priest, priests like crosses, nuns, things of that nature.
I mean, those are work expenses, though. They can write. They can write those crosses off. You get them as gifts. Yeah. How many footprints posters does somebody need?
Yeah. They need to get a bunch of them and lay them vertically so you can see the entire path. Like they're playing Tsuro. Like they have to trace Jesus's entire beach wander.
But you control him as he lashes himself. You got to take off his shirt, and then he grabs his little scourge and then starts saying the Lord's Prayer. And it ends with big red Amen scrawled across the screen.
Yeah. Reminded me of Faith. That game. The font. So we play a vision of DeVitt walking through the woods silhouetted. And we're hearing his psychologist here asking demanding questions as he passes by a hanging man and a woman named Anna holding a crying baby. Until we get a jump scare, this gigantic red crow's eye wakes him up. This is going to be something we're going to see kind of over and over.
Yes. What wakes him up from this hypnotherapy session that he's under. Some time has passed. Next, we have DeVitt standing by Anthony and Anna's graves, saying, I really don't remember much about my youth other than Anthony's friendship. But I've got to go back and, figure out what this is all about.
Yeah. So we get this little travel montage of him heading to Scotland. It looks really nice. Lots of little scenes.
Fades. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks good. You have it here as tasteful in the notes, and that's really, that's a good description of boarding school. You check the mailbox on the gate, of course, and find a letter addressed to somebody named Matthew. It's from his fiancée, Juliet, who he abandoned to come here for treatment.
Yes.
Treatment. Oh, this isn't a boarding school. This is like your first hint.
It's been repurposed. You walk in, and this place is being run by nuns. Mother Elizabeth is working at the desk by the front door, and she says, "Hey, you need to leave. This is a care facility." And she says, everybody who's here, I understand you thought this was a school. Everybody who's here came here after the school was closed. The only remnant from before is the father, is Monsignor. Eventually, she'll let you stay, but she is not going to let you through to talk to the father.
Yeah. She lets you stay when you answer the question honestly. Yes. She asks why you're there, and eventually you're like, I'm not entirely sure. And she, sees something in your eyes.
Yeah.
So you go frolic among the patients here. And these are little vignettes, these little stories of people having a hard time. We find Matthew here and his sister, Miss Mary Vinge. And Matthew's very sick. He's lamenting that Juliet left him and will not respond to his letters. Mary says, no, this is a delusion. And then right in front of her, you can give him the letter. And I was like, this is silly that Mary lets you do it. And then Mary doesn't let you do it.
Yeah.
Just grabs it from you.
Yeah, it's like, you're too weak. You're too weak to read that. Let me read it for you. And she starts reading off a fake letter. This is funny. It's like, it's from our mother. How does your how is your loving and devoted sister doing? It's amazing that she is here taking care of you. Yeah.
While she's distracted improving a mom letter, you can grab this bundle from behind her and see all of the unsent letters that Matthew wrote to Juliet that she didn't send.
Mm-hmm.
When you give him this, he freaks out and she says, I was protecting you. She's somebody who only wanted to marry you for your status.
Yeah. Think about what this is, how this will look for me, if you marry her. And, he sends her away, disowns, you're no longer my sister. And he gives us his lucky coin as thanks.
Yeah. If we put it in our pocket, he's going to kill us with a cattle killing thing. It's our lucky coin. Don't put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
There's a nun. We go to the third patient who is having visions of religious ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
There. And the nun will stop us from speaking to him directly.
Yes.
She won't help us. She says, all you need to do is look to the Virgin Mary. And there's a statue of the Virgin Mary next to her. So that tells us we got to do something with that.
Yes. There's a classroom at the back of the building that is still a classroom. Like there are desks, and also there are journal entries here written by DeWitt from when he was here back in 1876, talking about Father Ernest getting more irate and strict, and even reprimanding DeWitt. Eventually, the school closes without explanation, and there's a photo in the diary with one person scratched out, and DeWitt doesn't recognize anybody other than Anthony.
Yeah. So we go to the back door and we find the groundskeeper, this guy named Frank Baldwin, and he's digging a grave. The Monsignor told him to bury the bodies of the dead in a specific spot. And you can ask him about the Monsignor, but he says, I've never actually met the man.
Right. You can go upstairs and you find a nun who is despairing, looking out the window. And we can't do anything with her yet. Out in the hallway, there's a tapestry that's covering up where the door to the dorms used to be. And there's a group bathroom at the end where there is something in one of the drains that you can't reach. So we have to flush that out.
Yep. And here's another one of these kind of bad puzzles. You get this music box that's in the room with the nun, and this will cheer up the nun. You wind it with the coin.
Yeah.
Again, the metal object problem. Yes, that would make sense, but that's not how you do things in adventure games.
No.
This is the kind of thing Gary would want to do, but you'd stop me.
Yeah.
This reminds her of a better day. You have given me the sign that I was looking for. And she leaves. If you go out to the beach behind the building, you can find her habit and shoes in the sand. She left to go walk into the ocean.
Yeah. Little, it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. But you needed to in order to get,
to
get to her window.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was anything out there.
Yeah, men will force a nun to commit water suicide rather than saying "excuse me."
Oh gosh. So you look out the window after leading this woman to her death, and outside there's a broken drain pipe. But when you try to reach down and do anything with it, the edges are sharp. In order to do anything, you have to take a stone from outside and you have to use it to dull the edges. And you also have to grab a net from the beach and put that over the drain pipe. This will let you flush out the shower and get that object. The net will catch it, and then you can reach down without cutting yourself. Yeah. I consider dulling the edges with a rock to be a I don't like that.
Yeah, that I like the net. I like the net and the drain bit of this. But the rock thing is a little silly, and it's also just an unnecessary extra step.
Yes.
You get the object, this glass tier. We can put this on the statue of the Virgin Mary in the patient room. And use a flashlight.
Use a mirror.
Make a flashlight with a shard of mirror we found from the bathroom. This allows the nun to see this and think it is a miracle and kind of panic. This is also what the third patient wanted. As to see this sign of God. But basically we scare her away. She says, what have I done? What have we done? And leaves. Presumably to walk into the ocean.
Oh yeah, no, that's where they're all going. They all had appointments there later today.
Nunnings. Yeah.
So you talk to the third patient. And he says, "My pain is unceasing. I beg them for morphine, but they don't give it to me. I'm never going to get better. Can you please go get me the morphine? And euthanize me."
Yep. We've seen more morphine upstairs, so we go grab it. When we return, he's gone. And there's a note on the bed that says Baldwin lies over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. That's the gravedigger.
Yeah. So we go out to find him, but he's gone. There's a coffin standing up against the tree, but it's locked, and you can hear somebody knocking on the inside of it. And we can't open it with anything that we have.
Yeah, I love that the gravedigger has put somebody into a coffin and is now casually repairing something. Like you go find him and he's just fine.
Yeah, there's a clock.
He's like, hey,
on
how's
this.
it going? The way you distract him is to get him talking about Aberdeen, his hometown, and that's man, you get the fucking Scottish, Irish, and that whole over there.
You've just made an enemy for life.
I know. I already have that enemy. I'm joking about the enemy. So you ask about Aberdeen, and while he's waxing about Aberdeen, you can grab a tool from his toolbox to open the coffin, which you go and open, and the third patient falls out of this, referencing an eye. His eye, the darkness of his eye.
Yeah.
He falls over, and the mother rushes out to tend to him.
Yeah.
This whole chapter is about getting people away from their desks.
Yes. Distracting them from their duties.
Yeah.
And, Agent 47 had it figured out. A washcloth and a sink. That's all you need.
Yeah. There's a problem with the toilet. Yeah.
So you can go check her desk, and there's a list of deceased patients. A bunch of them have died pretty horribly. There was a man who had some scratch marks on the inside of his stomach.
That's incredible. That's great. A lot of these things that we're talking about don't pay off.
Yes.
In non-derogatory, right? Mm-hmm. So like a lot of these, the nun who heard the music box and was reminded of better days and decided to walk into the ocean. We're not doing, a game about a disease that makes you walk into the ocean.
No.
That's just a creepy ass thing to have happen in this. Basically what is happening is DeVitt's sanity is draining over the course of these chapters, and everyone around him is acting more weird and uncanny in a way that it's a little bit unclear what is in his mind.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's this big litany of people who've, died horrible deaths, and you can grab her key and get into the door that's by her desk, and heading towards the father's quarters. And when you open this, you step into a vision in the same hallway. Like you walk by your friends who all say, do not look at the eye. That is where the darkness is.
Yeah. And we get to the end. This is the Monsignor's cell at the end of the hall, where he wants to, or this isn't still in the flashback, rather. Yeah. At the end of it, where he's punishing DeVitt for having a classical philosophy book in his room, giving him lashes.
Yeah.
We cut back to the present, where the hallway has writing on the walls, a drawing of an eye, malum in se, evil in itself, and eye of the bird.
Yeah.
Birds are crashing into the windows trying to get in.
Love that.
Very good.
Yeah. So you walk into the father's room, and here he is. He's old, and his eyes are destroyed by this huge burn scar on his face. He is blind, and he tells you to come pray with him. Asking these metaphorical questions. And every time you get one wrong, a cross falls from the wall.
Yeah, that's great. He eventually sends you away, but we need things from his room, and he's blind.
Yes.
So we go in. We can't go too deep because he'll hear us. He starts kind of muttering about the four witnesses in the eye there. We grab a razor from the shelf by the door.
Yeah.
There. We can now use this to tear away the tapestry that's covering the upstairs dorm. I could have done that with my bare hands. But we can't do it with just the blade. We combine it with a piece of driftwood to make a crude axe.
Driftwood. There wasn't a spare toothbrush laying around there somewhere?
There wasn't a spare hand. So now when we step into it, we go into another flashback.
Yes. DeVitt and his friends are convening in the dorms here, talking. They're having a meeting of their little club. They say, "Hey, the father is surveilling us. We need to move our. We need to move our next meeting, into the lounge that's through the classroom. This is a hint of where we need to go."
Yeah, we inspect our old bed and fall asleep. Not what I would have done, but again, sanity things are happening to my man.
Right.
We have a dream where we're walking through the hallways, reading pieces of this fairy tale about a rabbit who outwits a group of predators by challenging them to a race.
Yeah.
And eventually he just, says, hey, you guys can, they want to eat him. Whoever wins the race can eat me first.
Mm-hmm.
You all have good advantages. And as they run off to the woods, the rabbit escapes.
Yes.
Mr. Rabbit was far away from there, and he finally felt safe, happy, and proud of his cunning. But suddenly there was a loud bang. The earth shook, frightened birds flew, and everything went dark. The end.
No lesson.
Yes. And as soon as you go down from this interface thing of the screen, there are huge humanoid rabbits that appear in a circle around you, looking at you, like the BioShock masks.
Yes.
Great looking.
Yeah.
I love that short story of just him doing all this cunning and getting shot anyway.
Uh-huh.
That's very Lovecraftian to me.
Mm-hmm.
Him, going through this entire narrative, feeling very clever, and then just the universe is uncaring, and you got shot because you're a rabbit.
Yep.
You're a minor thing.
Yeah, there was a danger outside of your expected context that you didn't stand a chance against.
Yeah, on a literal higher level.
Yeah,
than what you're operating on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we go to the trapdoor, and this starts a silent movie called "The Impossible Love." This is just a non sequitur. It's not related to anything. It is this man confessing his love to this corpse of a woman that is kind of like lazily hanging out of a coffin.
Yeah, that is an impossible love.
Yeah.
We wake up, this non sequitur, it's in a dream, so it's, so we wake up, that's still in the dream. We go to the classroom, looking for the lounge that they mentioned. We pull a rug off of a trap door and go down to the basement that is full of half devoured bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Bad hospital. Walk to the room at the end of this basement, and we step into this flashback of the philosophy club's meeting here. The lead kid has actually invited the father, who he said, like, hey, we have to move because he's watching us. And, says he's cool. And he starts injecting everybody with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flash to the present, we get in here, there are more bodies, and the father comes into the room with us. He says, it's you. I should have known, you're the fourth witness. And he talks about how we entered his realm, capital H, and we were seen by the eye of the bird. He won't say who the other two witnesses are. It was him and two other people. He just takes his lantern, pours the oil on himself, and then lights himself on fire. He self-immolates in front of you.
Yep. And while there's again, the way this is directed is really nice. You're kind of distracted looking at this and maybe a little shocked that a guy just set himself on fire in front of you when the gravedigger comes out of nowhere and knocks you out.
Yeah.
Here and buries you alive. All you see is a dark screen, and the audio is doing a lot of work. The pounding of the dirt, the heavy breathing, things like that. And that brings us into chapter 3 or episode 3, The Four Witnesses.
Yes. This starts in the grave. We get some darkness and heavy breathing, and then DeVitt breaks out of the coffin and he's in a basement somewhere.
There's a lengthy flashback to his training with Pai Mei before this. I can't believe you skipped that. We spend a lot of time carrying water up and down stairs.
Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted by this really loud siren.
Yeah. So you're broken out of a coffin in a basement somewhere. This chapter is basically Carcosa.
Yeah, realm stuff.
You have entered into some kind of realm during this. This is people writing about this game are mixed on this as a thing. Like, this is your brain is broken.
Yeah.
It is very unclear what of any of this is happening. It's just it felt very Carcosa-y to me.
Yeah. I'm fine. Like, there's cool stuff that happens in this. It is not very propulsive for the story, let's say.
It's also a little long.
Yeah.
It's one of the longer chapters, and there's a lot of it that kind of is a little bit samey, I think.
Yeah. So we get a flashback to DeVitt's negligent dad, man of society. DeVitt's mother had just died, and the dad doesn't have any time to deal with this kid. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to, pack you up and send you to this boarding school. Please do not write. I will not have time to read your letters.
Yeah, brutal.
Flashback
to Anthony taking in DeVitt, even though everyone else thinks he's quiet and strange. So this abuse. This is how he's getting into the philosophy club.
Yes.
We get this playable prologue of DeVitt waking up from the coffin in a London slum.
Yeah.
Wandering around looking for water.
Yeah. Very confused about why he's all the way down in London. He was up in the north of Scotland at the beginning of this.
Yes. And there's a man watching him, a tall man with red hair. It ends with this cutaway to his psychologist reporting him missing to another kind of upper class guy who we're going to hear from a little bit later.
Yeah. Like you end up needing to like find a drain spout and drink the like shitty sooty water that's coming from it. It's terrible.
And you take 2 steps away and fall down.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
So the chapter proper begins and we're in the maze-like streets of London at night. Just really confusing to get around. There's nobody around either. But you do have something in your pocket. It is a ticket for a play called The Four Witnesses.
Yes. And the maze part of this is not super great. It's not a literal maze.
Yeah. It's just unintuitive to get around.
Yeah, unintuitive. One of the things this game does in every chapter, and it's done in both of them before this, this is the only one where it actually helps, is give you shortcuts.
Yes.
Did you notice that for like a game that does not require very much backtracking, there are a lot of survival horror style doors that you unlock from the other side?
Yeah, that's stuck out. I was happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't dislike it. It's just I didn't use them very much. You know, they add them in this. There's a really handy one near at the end.
Yeah.
Of this, but this is the one where it feels like that kind of comes home to roost.
Yes.
Crows.
Yeah.
So we find. I'm not going to make the joke anymore. I'm just for fun. Just
crows.
So we find a fortune teller here who says, that hungry crows gather around me, and does a reading where we take cards. They're all the guy who gets electrocuted. None of them are good.
Is that bad?
Is that bad? And she gives us her lantern. She's like, "You're welcome to take it, but it has no oil."
Right. And the strange man is still watching us. And he leaves whenever you get close. Like you can follow him. He's kind of guiding you somewhere to this house that is too dark to explore. We need to find a way to get oil for the lantern, which we can get in this distillery. You collect some oily water in a bottle, and then you go into this distillery basement by solving a little lights out puzzle with some levers, and then like running it through in like an essencer or something like that to separate the water out and get
through an abandoned butcher shop.
Yes,
like which is a great scene, like just a thing with tons of big rotting cows.
Yeah,
hanging. There's this. We're in a realm.
Yeah,
like this isn't a functioning London.
No,
right now. Now we have a lamp, so we can go into the house and head upstairs. We find this old woman in a bedroom, but she's dressed like a little girl, and she calls herself Little Caddy.
Yeah,
the famous child star dancer.
Yeah, and we're getting into what remains of Baby Jane. Fuck.
Yes.
Whatever happened to Baby Jane? Okay.
What remains of Edith Jane, please?
Okay. She wants to play hide and seek, and is like, go stand by my dresser here, and this is so great. You're standing there, and you have to use that spot each time you click. It counts to 3, and when you turn around, the scene has changed. Like slowly, it changes into a stage. With you see her dancing in her prime, and then you see her dad playing the piano, and then you see the dad murdered and like blood and writing
on the piano
everywhere. Yes,
like his head bashed into the keys.
Yes,
it looks like and blood trickling down. It's real good. And there's a broken mask on the floor.
Yeah, then she's just gone.
Yep, she's walked into the ocean. The diary pages on the bed talk about her father abused her. Just one more song. Mm-hmm. Black Swan shit.
Yeah.
One of my favorite little bits of this, there's this sound of laughing you hear as you're going through this whole bit. Every once in a while. That's really unnerving. You follow this all the way down in the hall to the bathroom. And you get there and you pull open the curtain thinking there's somebody laughing in the bath. And the first time I played this, I remember I was like, oh, this is just going to be somebody who suicided in a bath.
Yeah.
Like when I open, there's going to be a corpse there. There's no laughing. It's way weirder. There's a mannequin with a wig with a record player that's playing laughing. If you play the record, you can switch it and it'll switch to crying.
Pretty good.
One side laughing, one side crying. We take the wig.
Yeah. Oh gosh. The door at the end of the hall is this bedroom with a man, not the one who's stalking you. He's gone. But the man is there playing the violin in these fits and starts. He's playing something and stops, and it's like, nope, wait a minute. No, that's not it.
Yeah. He is upset because his muse, Daphne, has died of sickness. There's a dressing mannequin near the window, and we need to show him Daphne one more time by creating mannequin wife.
Mm-hmm.
We go up to the attic. The attic has a huge bird cage with a feather at the bottom. This I could have swore would be for people.
Uh-huh.
Like I know there's a feather at the bottom, but it's a scary bird cage.
Feather people for Eric Okra.
Yeah, there we go. It's Shars.
And Jonathan, how'd you get locked in there?
I don't know. We can't get the feather. We can't reach it. In one of the more irritating puzzles of this, the way we reach it is grabbing the violinist score, and it's rolled up, and we blow through it to get the feather. That's counterintuitive. Yeah, that's not a good puzzle.
And this leads to another bad puzzle. This
feather
is
also bad.
The feather. The mask is broken. We need to repair it. There's a tree stump out back, and the feather is used to get resin off of the tree stump and use that to fix the mask.
Yeah, unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
That is a little silly.
Yeah.
Now that we have it, though, we can grab a dress from a cabinet here, and the wig and the mask, and we can put it on the dressing mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
So the violinist, is like, "Oh, I'm going to be able to finish my work."
Yes.
I have my muse back. He gives you the key to the mausoleum out back, and says, "Here, take my violin. Please bring it to Daphne's body. Leave it near her heart." And then eventually says, "Look for the simurg."
Yeah, I don't know what that. Do you know what the simurg is?
Simurg. I know it is in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know what that word means. I'd never heard it before. Like it's the big bird.
Yeah. Okay, that is. The simurg is a benevolent bird in Persian mythology. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a bird.
But it's the evil bird in the game as well.
Right.
The simurg.
Yeah. So we go to the mausoleum out back, and we find that Daphne's vault is empty. The coffin has been taken from there. And we follow the trail of dirt to this hole in the wall and exit out the back through the fence to the streets. You're in front of this bookstore. You can look through the keyhole. Oh, good.
The bookstore is named The Great God Pan.
Okay.
Which for when this game is set would be like a bookstore being named like Tom Clancy's Maximum Insurgents.
But yeah, you look through the keyhole and you see this goat eye, and the door opens. Jump scare.
Yeah.
Crows.
Crows. Man at the back of the shop is we're talking to him. We say we apologize for interrupting his reading.
Uh-huh.
And we can say, like, how are you reading? You're in the dark. And he says there are some books you can only read in the dark.
Yeah.
He's sitting here reading like the secret. He talks about the secret text that you can see behind the text if there's not light on it. Super cool.
Yeah.
He's seen the strange man that is stalking us here. He's reading a book the strange man was here reading a book about undiscovered places within the empire.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, can you show me the books he's done? He said, well, you just look around.
Yeah.
We walk around. The book is on the floor in the stacks. There's a marked page talking about the place of eternal fog.
Yeah. And the basement here also has a room which has the coffin, but it's not a body inside. The coffin is burst open, and there's this huge dead tree that has grown out of it.
Yeah. So we go to the basement and we place the violin among the roots, and this makes the tree come back to life. This is Daphne.
Yes.
Who was buried here. The limbs burst through the wall out into the street. So we can now go out into the street and find a limb that has the last page on it, this little parchment, this poem about sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
Yeah. So the
strange man goes, yo,
and over here, bud. It leads you into a foggy maze. This is just out in the woods, and there are multiple exits. The poem talks about these sounds, talking about the ravens and the ocean and stuff. This is the solution. It's the order that you have to follow the sound. So it's wind, ocean, etc. And then the final one is dead silence.
Yeah. You do this. And we catch up to him at the entrance of a theater. And I love, really like this. We just woke up with his ticket in our pocket. Mm-hmm. We've been chasing this guy all around. All he just says is, your ticket, please. And there's nothing else you can do. When I talk about this game doing a good thing in terms of using kind of the medium of a game to limit your actions, I think to contribute to kind of a surreal, dreamlike horror.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things. Like, we have a million questions for this guy because it's a video game. All we can do is give him a ticket.
Yes.
He said, give us a ticket. That's who he was.
Yeah. It's the man in the dream asked for the ticket, and I just happened to have it in my pocket. Yeah.
And I gave it to him because that's the thing that would make sense.
Yes.
Like in terms of dream logic stuff, I think this game does a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
We do this, and the camera pans up past 4 statues, one of them missing a head.
Yeah.
There. We walk in and find the stage, and there's a man in yellow robes waiting for us on the stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the leader of the club, this man named Alexandre. He says, the bird is protecting us, and talks about, having passed this point of no return. And though we are embarked, the show is just now beginning.
Yep. The curtain rises, and we're surrounded by people in yellow robes. And we get these close-ups of their masks. These are alternating between comedy and tragedy masks.
Mm-hmm.
We got a kind of a scary looking, smile though, and then a tortured frown.
Yes.
Similar, the laughing and the crying record.
Right.
And Alexander holds out a mask for you. And again, dream logic, there's nothing to do but grab it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing my part.
Yeah. You're on the stage. This is part of the show.
Yeah.
That's your cue.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We grab it and the chapter ends. In between, we see this letter from Johann Kaufman to Dr. Wakefield, our psychologist. He's figured out that Devitt, us, are in grave danger, and our psychologist is going out to find us.
Yes.
Starting us with episode 4, Ancient Shadows.
Yeah. The prologue has Devitt in this basement sitting down in a chair, and we are controlling Alexandre, preparing for this ritual. Grabbing a syringe, and getting ready to inject him, and we appear in these yellow robes.
Yes. Yeah. Cut over to Alexandre and Devitt on a balcony. Then it fades to the theater stage. Alexandre is talking about the stars being a veil, a place full of mist separating us from beyond. Anthony's great abilities brought you here, but his influence will soon fade away. The mask of lies will descend over your eyes once again. Yes. This idea that being around Anthony has kind of set him on this journey, set him into this, version of the world that is beyond the veil.
Yes.
And kind of behind it.
And the window is closing. The curtain is closing, and you need to slip through, basically, because you will go back to not remembering any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Says you need to find the door through the veil before that happens.
Yep. Cut to Dr. Wakefield and Johann Kaufman sitting on a train. And Kaufman talks about the massacre at the St. Gall Covenant, where you were, how Devitt caught the perpetrator in the act. This is we're back to the end of chapter 2.
Yes.
The handyman.
Mm-hmm.
The nuns unearthed us and took us to a hospital, but we've gone missing again.
Yeah. Just like us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Kaufman, who has not been introduced so far, he's just a wealthy benefactor kind of guy. He's especially interested because the nuns found something inside Devitt's coffin that he was buried in. It was this empty syringe that once contained an unknown substance, couldn't be identified.
Yes. Yeah. So we walk through the woods here to Alexandre's estate. And go inside the main house, we can hear walking around upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
The great little scary thing. When we head upstairs, we find him in a wheelchair, and we can ask hey, I heard walking. Was that you, or is there somebody else here? And he can't answer.
Yeah,
it's leaving the door open, whether there's something else wandering around up here with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is it in there? It's just catatonic. We're playing as Devitt. And here, we didn't underline that. We were talking about Wakefield.
Yeah, we cut back over to Devitt. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we have free reign of the estate here, trying to figure out how to wake our friend up. Go to the kitchen. There's a lamp down there, which will let you explore more. And there's a diary from the caretaker. Alexandre had requested that all statues be turned to face the wall. And that all of the clock faces be rotated.
Yeah, good creepy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A diary upstairs talks about the creatures that are beyond the veil. There, and another diary, kind of gives a little background of that. And another diary from a caretaker nearby talks about not being able to work in the basement anymore because of the sculptures. He's moved them to the greenhouse.
Yeah. The study has this letter from another member of the club who is doing his own independent research into alchemy. Saying I've made a tremendous discovery here. He is trying to recreate the drug that they used earlier on. There's an invoice from the cuckoo clock maker describing the job that he was hired to do, saying, "Oh, the clock in Alexandre's room, which we had seen, has been modified to only sound at 6:15 p.m. Also, set up a mechanism to sync it so that every clock, or to sync every clock in the house. So if you set one, every other one will be synced, which must be a wild piece of technology for
In the
1897.
Yeah, like it's all gears and stuff. Like it's a huge connects puzzle. There's an envelope in the fireplace, and it has a note on it that says, "Do not open under white light."
Mm-hmm.
And nearby, we can go to a dark room.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to figure out a way to get that light in there to develop whatever's inside. Right now, there's white light in the dark room.
Mm-hmm.
We go out to the greenhouse and find this door. The door has been barred from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
There's a developer chemical, though, we can get, and this moldy statue of an angel, and a place where something broke out of the glass from the inside. Something was locked in here and it got out.
Yes. The idea of mold growing on a statue.
Yes.
Like a statue rotting.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So we have one of the chemicals. And then we picked up another one as well. I think one was in the dark room, but we need a red light. And to do this,
I hate this puzzle.
Yeah, this is really bad. You have to take this bulb from the dark room, and you need to turn it red. You have to go back to a screen that was not interactive for you before. You have to go back out the hole in the wall, out into the woods, where there is a dead deer. And you have to soak to soak the light bulb in the deer's blood.
It is so exceedingly silly to think of you like wound fucking a deer with a light bulb in this kind of story. Like imagine Lovecraft narrating that. Like, I don't know, again and again, I thrust the bulb into the wet crevasse.
There's a dark room. He probably would have had bulbs around.
You would think so. He probably didn't kill a deer every time he had to develop pictures.
I don't know. He was doing some pretty sick shit.
That is true. But yeah, this is dumb. I also don't think it would work.
No.
I don't know that. I don't know how to test it. I give myself a bloody nose and figure out if this works. let's bust this myth. We can then use the chemicals and the light there to follow some directions on the note and develop the envelope. Inside, it's a photo of Anthony and Alexandre with a third person who's obscured by shadow. When you leave this interface thing, two people in rat masks who were in a photo or a painting in the background are now standing next to you out of the picture. It's really good. The bulb bursts, they're gone. When you check the picture again, they go, oh, they're back in the frame.
I didn't check the picture again.
Oh, it's real good. Like you are acclimating to this dream logic. Your character's narration as well. Like that is dreamy as shit.
They had
okay. They're back in the frame.
Yeah. They had to come from somewhere, and obviously they had to go to somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. They're in their hole. Like it's okay. They're in their house.
Yeah. So you can take this photo and show it to Alexandre, and he reacts to this. His hand loosens and he drops a clock hand and starts muttering, "The bird awaits," over and over again. So he's not, we can't ask him any questions, but there's something.
Yeah. We gone to a well and the rope broke. We can take the part of the rope that remains and you tie it to a hook to fish the bucket back out. Inside this is a small brass bird with something inside it. We put the bird in the cuckoo clock and then use the clock hand on the grandfather clock in the foyer. Since they're all synced up, we can make that one chime, and the cuckoo clock ejects with such force as to shoot the bird out. That's also some Hitman shit. The cuckoo clock's bird's mouth opens since it's been shot out of the clock, and we can get a key inside it.
Yes. Alexandre has now turned to saying the name Za-Ilithal over and over again. This is the name of the place of eternal fog that we read about in that book.
Yes.
The hidden places in the Empire. And this key that we got from the cuckoo opens the cellar door outside. Meaning you get down there, and there are several artifacts from nearby ancient ruins that have been brought in and stored here. And through the back, there's a lab.
Yes. In this book, we can find in a strange language that's here. It has an annotation. Somebody has translated it about a drug that the club developed. The purpose was to get them so they can get to this point where they could peek through the curtain, peek through the veil.
Yes.
With the intent of eventually walking beyond it. If the hoopoe will let them.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
It's another name for the bird, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another note here later that corroborates that. So multiple names for the bird.
Yeah.
Simmerg and all that. So we take a shovel from the basement and dig up a grave behind the house, because why not?
Yeah, because it's there.
Yeah. And we find this padlocked wooden box. We have to use one of the developer fluids, which is an acid, to dissolve this rusty padlock on it. And inside is this little human skeleton with these animal features to it, with a collar on it that says Old Mike.
I really like Old Mike.
Old Mike is great.
We don't get to know more about Old Mike. We don't need it.
No.
Old Mike is holding a canvas with a map of the stars. We can find a letter from another member of the club that commends Alexandre for his alchemical progress. He says that a mystic has shown him a chemical mixture similar to what the club found. It's called hoopoe. Oh, you're right. In a name that shares with the great bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure I put that together. I think it's just a silly sounding word. It kind of threw me.
Yeah, it is kind of a silly word. So we can go back to the house, and when you walk in, you hear screaming. It's Alexandre upstairs, and when you rush up, his chair is empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We approach it, the lights go out, and the balcony door blows open. A raven nearby says nevermore. Here. I don't know what that's a reference to. Crows. A diary on the chair talks about the caretaker is deciding to leave the house. And we follow. It looks like the only place we could follow, that he might be, is out on the balcony. When we go out there, there's a statue.
Yeah.
Instead, it's holding a lens we can grab.
Yeah. So you can go down to the basement and you hear this guttural muttering, kind of echoing about. And when you go into the lab, this desk has been moved, revealing a passage to this chamber that is full of snow.
Yeah. There's a telescope here, a locked desk, and a huge hole in the ground. There's a note. This is from a club member talking about perfecting the drug and sending a test subject into waking sleep, rendering him brain dead.
Yeah.
So a little bit of light on what has maybe happened to us, or is happening to us currently.
Right. So you put the lens from the statue onto the telescope, and you can look through and see these stars and alchemical symbols. The desk is locked with 3 locks that correspond to alchemical symbols. We need to figure out what to dial in. Looking at the map of the constellations, we can see, just call outs for what we need to do. You activate the correct stars from the constellations to form the summer triangle, and these symbols correspond with what we need to input on the desk.
Yeah, these are ones we got from Old Mike.
Yes.
Inside the desk, there are 2 syringes, one empty and one full. We take the full one. Muttering starts up from the pit. In the room. So, of course, we go into the pit. And we're in the basement from the prologue with the chair. But instead of, being in the chair with Alexandre, talking to us, he's facing the wall, unresponsive. Here. We have to give him the syringe.
Yes. DeVay concludes, so this is what you told me to look for. And the syringe, this is the last door. It is this it is the chemical that takes them through into xylitol, the foggy place. He says, I'm waiting for you here in the mist. It's nearby. I can hear the beating of its wings. It knows we are afraid.
Yeah. And we go for it. What else can we do? We sit in the chair, give him the syringe, and he injects us. We get this flash of blood red images, various kind of things, ending with the raven's eye there.
Yeah.
And the episode ends with Kaufman and Dr. Wakefield at Beechworth's Manor from the first episode. And they found an unsent letter that we missed in the first chapter there. That kind of tells us, turns us, explicitly Lovecraftian.
Yes. Dearest Alexandre, it was Anthony writing this. Please, you must reflect on this. We do not yet know what we are dealing with. If you were to open the door, it may stay that way. An open way for whatever lies on the other side.
Yeah. And we get a very short post-episode scene of DeVitt walking through the fog and finding Alexandre dressed in yellow. And he walks ahead and we follow. Yeah. And we get a, stay tuned for season 2, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's not the end of David's story, but we're not going to be playing him in season 2.
Yeah. It's the end of part 1 of this, and we're going to kind of expand on this stuff. I still, I really like this game. The puzzles are not very good. But I think that this story and the really, really canny decisions about when to provide extra detail make this evoke. It's really weird that they have not read Robert Chambers.
Yeah.
This reminds me specifically a lot of the Delta Green book, Impossible Landscapes, which is a King in Yellow Hastur-based campaign that is full of advice on how to run this specific kind of horror.
Oh,
like
it's great.
A dreamlike surreal horror as opposed to, a traditional Lovecraftian horror. And that's exactly what this reminds me of.
Yes.
Like the dream logic and the kind of dream details you're seeing in this feel very well observed to me. Aiming for something that is scary in a slightly less traditional way than a lot of like video games are.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's, this game is a testament to the power of limitations, right?
Yeah.
And I think that they generally make very good decisions within it. I just wish the puzzles were better.
I wish the puzzles were better or not there.
Yeah.
This would have worked really well as a walking sim, and it would have worked well and needed to still be a video game because you need to have that kind of, embodiedness to feel any danger, even if there are actually no fail states. If you're just watching a show, the scene where all the crows show up wouldn't be scary. Like I have to have a little avatar in there.
Yeah.
But the puzzles themselves are not great shakes. And if I recall, I don't think they improved that much in season 2.
Yeah. I've never played season 2. I finished it and I was like, I'll probably stream the second one later, and then never did. So
yeah, it takes big swings. Like the scale has increased a lot.
Yeah.
So looking forward to getting to it.
Yep.
So, and as we mentioned, for a patron backer, that's coming next year.
Yeah.
So thank you, Brett.
That's the last door for now.
Take it. It can also be kind of, this game is really short.
Yes.
And it being in episodes, like this takes me back to like a period in which I was playing a lot more like kind of art indie games. And I was really into, this is the golden age of Telltale times, an episode a night, which is a really nice rhythm of play. You sit down like you're watching a show and you play for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you get an entire like experience. You're like, shit, I can't wait to see what happens next and do it the next day, like reading a chapter of a book before bed. That was very satisfying during this period. There's like a nostalgia to this kind of 2010s game mode.
Weird to say.
Yeah. I don't want all games to be like that, but it was fun kind of, taking a little window back 10 years. If you're listening to this and you are any kind of minority and you have a project or product you'd like us to shout out, please send me an email at gary@duckfeed.tv. Include pronunciation, links, pronouns, anything that might be useful. We have another project here from Dai. This is the person who did the Monster Overhaul book that you and I both kickstarted. They are starting a Kickstarter for a game called Half-Light. Apologies. That's very funny. I'm tired. I apologize for that. That's pretty good. Half-Light, which is a gothic horror role-playing game. So a tabletop role-playing game inspired by like Darkest Dungeon, Castlevania 2, gothic fiction, things like that. The pre-order page is up on Kickstarter. So I would Google, rather than putting in a link because it's a long link verbally, Half-Light on the Gothic Horror Role-Playing on Kickstarter. The pre-page is up now. The campaign is going to run through November.
Cool. I have signed up for notifications. Dai does good work. Yeah,
I like that other book, and this sounds really sick. Yeah. So check it out. And if you have anything, let me know.
Yes. If you have thoughts about The Last Door or our other games from this month, Stasis, Bone Totem, horror games at the arcades generally, or a premium episode, we're going to be talking about Crow Country. The deadline to write in for those. Crows. The deadline to write in is October the 15th. Go to duckfeed.tv/contact and click the WAF button and write in. We prefer specific and concise.
Yeah. And if you have things to say about next month's games, which are Toonstruck, Balatro, or Diablo 2, write in by November 15th.
Yes. If you're listening and you're not already, you can back us on Patreon to hear those premium episodes about Crow Country and Diablo 2, and all of the previous premium episodes we have done. It's a whole bunch of them you get now. That's at patreon.com/duckfeed.tv, and you get whole bonus shows and support us.
Yeah. If you can't do that, we understand. Money's different for everyone. Please rate and review or subscribe on the podcast directory of your choice. Tell your friends, write about us in online spaces. All of that stuff helps.
Yeah. And join us in thanking our producer, Gwen. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you, Gwen. And until next time, what should they watch out for?
Crows.
Crows.